Hey folks, this is JR with DIY Prepper. Welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about one of the biggest and most dangerous threats that we would face, especially in a more long-term disaster situation. A lot of the times we as preppers like to think of the threats that we would face as being external. Something like the archetypal bad guy, mutant, zombie, biker. I stole that from Jim Cobb. He's a very good author. If you haven't read his stuff, give it a try. But some of our biggest threats are actually going to come from within us, more specifically from our own minds. It's amazing how something that is supposed to be hardwired to keep our body going and survivable can be so capable of also sabotaging it as well. And it's challenging to deal with because it's not something that you can just buy something and be able to fix it. Like if I know that I don't have enough water storage, I can go buy some more water containers. I could put a rainwater system in. If I don't have enough food, I can go buy more food. If I don't have a way to cook without, like using propane or something like that, then I can go buy a Kelly kettle which uses sticks. So on and so forth. But with the mental game, it's a lot harder to navigate. And when we are dealing with kind of, I guess, issues from within during a survival situation, it's going to make us less capable of dealing with even small situations, and it could completely paralyze us during more severe threats. And y'all, as we go through this, I'm going to be kind of careful to avoid medical terminology as much as possible because this is not meant to be a medical video in any way, shape, or form. It's more meant to get us thinking about kind of how we are going to navigate things like losing the will to live in extreme fear during especially a long-term survival situation. So first kind of aspect of this that we're going to talk about is losing the will to live. If you look at a lot of survival books out there, usually the first chapter in a lot of them is something like the will to live. It has to do with survival psychology because really that's one of the most important things that you have going for you. There have been situations with people with like no training, no gear, that by some miracle they make it out alive, and a lot of that is because they just didn't give up. They had an extreme will to live, and somehow by some miracle they made it out. Now, I'm not saying to rely on that totally by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just saying that the will to live can be very powerful. And losing that is very likely in a long-term situation because you're going to face numerous things that is going to put a lot of stress on you. You're probably going to lose loved ones, whether it's family or friends. A lot of people, when they are no longer able to go to their day job, that is going to affect them greatly because a lot of people, especially nowadays, they really wrap their identity and their sense of self up in their job, and if that's taken away from them, that is going to that's going to affect a lot of people negatively. And then even now, I mean, we can see the world in its current state, see how things are going downhill, and we can think kind of what's the point? I mean, we can't possibly be ready for every contingency, all those kind of thoughts. And I think as of now, that's probably a very big concern if you are a new prepper. And as I've said in other videos, just keep going, do what you can. But losing the will to live, it can follow trauma. It can also follow illness. If we're in a long-term situation, there's a very good chance that your diet is going to suffer. You're not going to have access to modern healthcare the way that we do now, even if you have made certain medical type preps. And there's a good chance that even things that you could get over in just a couple of days now might take you longer to get over. And y'all, I'm kind of dealing with some illness now too. I've been feeling kind of like dirt since Thursday. Don't know what it is, but I will say getting the will to make this video was kind of hard, but that pales in comparison to the other stuff that we're talking about. Or, I mean, kind of losing the will to live. It could be a lingering problem. There are people with struggle with such things, and it would only get worse in a disaster situation. So, I mean, if that's you, definitely get help now, because it's only going to get worse if something, just world changing happens to where society just kind of collapses totally. So, how to deal with that? First of all, faith can be very powerful. It is for me. I know a lot of people have used their faith to get through some very, very difficult circumstances, whether it's in everyday life or in survival situations. Also, exercise. I know that probably quarantine was a good kind of practice for a lot of people, from the sense of being isolated from the outside world. It would kind of simulated, I guess, a long-term bug-in situation, and boredom can be very detrimental. So, and then also just kind of being very sedentary can be bad for your body and your mind. So just doing exercises, and you don't have to, be a total weightlifting champion or anything like that, but just keeping your body moving and keeping things from atrophying, stuff like that, can be very beneficial. Then also keep yourself busy, because the idle mind is the devil's workshop. The more you give your mind downtime, the more negativity and stuff like that is probably going to creep in. So have books that you can read. I know for me, I am more of a nonfiction book person. I get most of my fiction fix from like TV and stuff like that. I mean, even the YouTube videos I watch a lot of the time aren't purely for entertainment. They're edutainment videos, kind of like this one, and have small enjoyable tasks that you can do. And don't isolate yourself. That's a big one. Have others within your group that you talk to, and don't shut them out, and have activities that you can do together with them. Things like board games, cards, stuff like that. You want to have a mixture of things that you can do by yourself and things that you can do with others, because too much of one thing either way is not good. If you're with people all the time, you're probably going to want to strangle them pretty quick. So have things that you can do by yourself also. Then fear. If you are in especially a situation where people are coming after you or something like that, that type of fear, it can be paralyzing. Or even if you know that your food storage is running low and you don't know what to do about it, I mean, that could be something that would shut people down also. And fear can also result in rash actions that may not be the best course of action to take in a particular situation. So that can reduce your chances of survival as well. So how to deal with that? First of all, just keep preparing. Keep doing what you are doing, because many times anxiety is a result of a perceived lack of preparation. I spent a lot of time in the music world, not like pop music or anything like that, but I was a musician in school, and then I taught music for several years. I think I spent 10 years total teaching music in different capacities. Yeah, I know, musician with a prepper channel, kind of weird. But anyway, and when I would take kids to contests, specifically ones where it was just them playing for like a judge or something like that, they would always be nervous. And you would have your type A kids that practiced their rear ends off that would be nervous, but the ones that were really nervous, the ones that couldn't shake it, were the ones that didn't practice, because they knew that they were not prepared. And when I was a kid going through the same thing, since I wasn't the best practicer out there, I felt the same way. So keep preparing. Do what you can to be prepared for as many things as you can. And don't let the thought of you can't prepare for everything keep you from doing what you can. And then also try to plan for as many situations as possible. That could kind of close the gap between maybe some shortcomings in your preps and being able to make it through it if you have a good plan for how to deal with it. Plans, they reduce uncertainty, so you're going to feel better about going into a situation because you know you have a plan. And it can be helpful to have pre-decided courses of action when you're under duress and your decision making is compromised, because you might not need to make those decisions when you were under the gun, so to speak. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to check out some of my security related videos by clicking these cards. Y'all have a good one. Thanks again.